Jesus Come Take Me Home was fulfilled. Manya, as she was fondly known, will be greatly missed by her brother Walter, her children Edith and Osama, Harry and Elke, Val, Louise and Gary, her grandchildren Anna, Hassan, Sarah and Emmanuel, Laura and Ryan, Shayna and Mark, Jeremy and Robin, Michael and Caitlin, and her great-grandchildren Henry, Bennett, Misha, Haley, Avery, and Linnea. What treasures. She's also survived by nieces and nephews, and especially her beloved niece and nephew, Wanda and Adolf Andres, and dear families in Ontario, BC, California, Germany, and Egypt, as well as Alberta. She was predeceased by her parents, Henry and Maria Dirksen, and her husband, Harry. Our mother was born October 1st, 1930, in Pigeon Lake, Manitoba. At the hour of her birth, her father was bidding a final farewell to his father, Gerhard, an hour of both joy and sorrow in the circle of life. She and her brother Walter were the love of their parents' lives, and they grew up surrounded by adoring uncles and aunts for whom the Dirksen home was central. Music, poetry, and love for animals and nature were her greatest influences. Evenings, the sound of Manya at the piano, her father playing mandolin or violin, and her mother singing were a constant, even after hard days of farm labor. Favorite times were spent with her Schrader cousins, and there too, singing was an important aspect of their lives. Mom attended George Herbert School, a small country school where her dear Uncle John Dirksen was her teacher. He was a disciplined, loving teacher who inspired her with his love of poetry and music. Her high school years included time at Mennonite Brethren Collegiate Institute, and she graduated at St. Francis Xavier Convent School, where she was taught by the Grey Nuns. Mom recognized a desire and need for God in her life at an early age, and often recounted the lovely scene of kneeling in the garden with her mother to invite Jesus into her life, amidst the beauty of nature, the fragrance of the earth and flowers. The theme of gratitude for all things created by God were a hallmark for Mom's outlook in life. Whether the industriousness of watching a spider spin or an ant work, the majesty of a sunset or a beautiful moonrise, Mom was inspired by the wonder of God's creation. At the age of 12, she was blessed with her parents to welcome her chosen brother, Walter, into their lives. Here began a lasting love for each other. In the years to come, Walter and Manya would spend hours at the piano and auto harp, singing and playing songs together. After World War II, the Dirksen family, together with some of their siblings, sponsored the refugee Giesbrecht family, which was to become the lifelong bond between two extended families, Giesbrecht and Dirksen. Upon meeting Harry, Manya was immediately taken with what she saw as his European gentility, and though she always claimed she didn't pursue him, she knew she had caught his eye, and his visits to his sister and family at her home became more frequent than might be considered necessary. Their burgeoning romance led to marriage in 1952, and the baby boom ensued, with first daughter Edith, then son Harold, and finally daughter Louise, within 3 years of each other. Moms struggled raising 3 children so close in age, while Harry worked 2 jobs, studied at Red River College at night, and eventually started his business with 2 partners. Much of the early years were spent on her parents' farm, while Harry stayed in the city to work and study. The farm has always been held in the family's memory as a place of warmth, love, and comfort, and became the focal point of all family celebrations, incorporating both Dirksen and Giesbrecht as extended families. Hence, Dad's family from Ontario and California were incorporated into all family gatherings. As Dad's business became successful and her children grew older, Mom was able to study Russian and German at the University of Manitoba. She particularly loved studying under Professor Wiebe, who had also been a dear friend of her own parents. Eventually, business success and desire for connection to their history led to the opportunity to travel regularly to the former Soviet Union and to form a connection to many relatives who had been lost to them through the war. While Mom relished these times, her greatest joy was to be at home in her garden. Mom saw the home her husband had built for her in 1976 as his labor of love to her. In the first years thereafter, her father helped her plant trees in the yard, trees that with each year of growth marked a continued commitment to her family. Her father and brother built her a wooden windmill and a wishing well, which held prominent space in the yard with plantings surrounding them. Mom loved her family. Her children and their partners were all her children. Osama's family, her Egyptian family, held a special place in her heart, and she savored the relationships that were built as the family visited in each other's homes. Mom loved her garden. From planting in winter to planting in spring to enjoying the growth in summer and harvest in fall, poetry sprang in each season from each blossom and color and hue. Mom loved her church communities, whether in Winnipeg at Portage Avenue or the Schoenfelder Church from her childhood at Pigeon Lake. These were her cherished friends in whose presence and love she found joy. Mom loved her neighbors. Over the 43 years they lived there, the children knew and loved her as Mary, who had tea parties for them, or Mary, who baked cookies with the ingredient list for Halloween. Mom loved Christmas. She would start before the first Advent, bringing up the boxes and setting up the village, the candles, the winter birds, and finally the piece de resistance, her tree. There wasn't a corner that was not touched by Christmas decor. Her last creative gift to family this December was the beautifully decorated tree. The 1980s brought grandchildren, and how she relished the luxury of time she now had for sharing her love of music and nature with each of them. As Oma, she taught them songs, poems, names of flowers and birds, and showed them the intricate beauty of a spring, summer, or fall leaf. Our father passed away in November 2014, and Mom found solace in the love of her dear brother, her family, and her music. Late at night, through tears, she could be seen at the piano playing through her sorrow. Her brother Walter ensured the garden would continue to grow each spring, and she became more of a director than a planter. Her frequent trips to Patterson's and Chalmerdines meant that yet one more plant was able to find a home in her garden. This past year was hard for Mom, as congestive heart failure robbed her of energy. She was so grateful to know each of her new great-grandchildren and her grandniece, and proudly displayed pictures for all to see. On December 20th, Mom was admitted to emergency at Grace Hospital, and she knew her time was short. In her last days, she had time to express gratitude for their love and to bid farewell to all her family, even by phone throughout Canada, the US, and Germany. Tell my family how grateful I am. Tell my church family, tell them how much I love them. Tell them how grateful I am for Jesus. Oh, my heart is so full. If only you could see how full of gratitude it is. Mom was watched over by her children and grandchildren. I'm almost making it to the end. In her last days and hours, her constant prayer was, "Come, Lord Jesus, come. Take me home."
While she slept peacefully in her last hours, she also heard the words of the 23rd Psalm whispered to her by her cousin. Karen, in the hour of her passing, she saw the green pastures and heard the call for her shepherd, who took her home.